Warren, again, for people who are just waking up, they're tuning in and they want to know what you think about this sell-off this morning. To see the Dow down 700, 800 points in the morning, what's your reaction when you see something like that?
Well, my reaction is that I like to buy stocks, so I don't wish ill on anybody else, but I like to, if they want to sell them to me cheaper, I prefer it. So if that's a, roughly a 3% decline or thereabouts, I don't know how many 3% declines I've had in my lifetime, but there have been a lot of them. And I can't think of one that you shouldn't have bought on. Basically, that doesn't mean stocks are going to go up or down next week or next month or next year. But if there's something, if you like to own American businesses, you're getting a chance to buy it 3% cheaper. I don't consider that a lot cheaper. I mean, but how can it be bad news unless you have to sell stocks? Now, if you have to sell them for some reason, you're worse off. If you don't have to sell them, I mean, somebody can come around and offer you a quote on your house today, and it can be 2% less than they offered you yesterday. But if you like the house, it really doesn't make any difference to you.
Does that mean Berkshire will be buying stocks today?
Well, we certainly won't be selling, and yeah, we could easily be buying something, sure.
That was very interesting. Warren Buffett talking in mid-March on CNBC about how he's not going to be selling stocks. He is going to be a buyer. In fact, he's seen market downturns that are much worse than this one. Let's find out in the next couple of clips exactly what happens.
Scott, this news came out late this afternoon, and here's what Berkshire Hathaway did. They sold some of their position with Delta and Southwest, and the reason they had to disclose this in an SEC filing is because they had above 10% of the shares, and they had to go below 10%, which required them to announce that they were selling. Now, we don't know their final position in terms of what any other stock moves they may have made with other airline stocks that they own. We have reached out to Berkshire Hathaway. We have not heard a response from them, which is not uncommon. Whenever they make a move regarding a particular stock, they never say why they decided to either buy or sell that stock. But this move comes on a day when the big six airlines and other airlines as well have all applied to the federal government for a piece of the $25 billion in cash grants that will be awarded to them sometime over the next week to week and a half from the federal government. They have all filed those applications. We're not sure who's going to end up with how much or what the position will be from the federal government in terms of taking stock warrants or some kind of a stake in each of the airlines. But what's noteworthy is two announcements today. One from Delta CEO Ed Bastian, where he announced that they have applied for this application. They filed the application for grants. And yet at the same time, he says, look, we're still bleeding cash. They're going through $60 million a day. And it's not much better at the other airlines. JetBlue CEO Robin Hayes also announcing that they've applied for the federal cash grant. They're going through $10 million in cash per day. And to give you some sense, Scott, that things may not improve in the future, today United filed an SEC 8K, and in it they said that their fourth quarter projection, is that revenue will be down 30%. That's with a recovery. That's the kind of recovery they're looking at, Scott. 30% drop in revenue as of right now. That's what they're expecting in the fourth quarter.
Just incredible. Phil LeBeau, thank you so much. You have a good weekend as well.
You too.
For more on the markets and a look ahead to next week, let's get to Stephanie Link joining us now. Steph's good to see you. We haven't heard from Mr. Buffett recently. Now we do, and it's about selling millions of shares. Is that a sign of his belief, do you think, of the market at large and where it may be going?
Well, I think it's really airline specific because this industry, this is just a tragedy in terms of what they're going through and what kind of help they need. Scott, just back in January 14th, Delta reported they blew away numbers. They said leisure and corporate travel were at all-time highs. They talked about their Amex partnership and how much revenue that was generating. They have very little exposure to the MAX, so they were viewed as one of the best. And how the mighty have fallen just in a couple of months' time. This is one of the reasons why it's so hard to actually invest in the airlines, because they are so cyclical. They are so macro dependent. But this is really incredible. These stocks are down 60%. They trade at 3 times earnings. Obviously, people don't believe those earnings. But this is like there's no visibility in sight. So I can completely understand why you walk away even down this much.
Even if you're Warren Buffett.
Just days later, Warren Buffett decides to sell Southwest and Delta shares. The only reason why they had to declare those is because they owned more than 10%. So the SEC required him to say exactly how many shares they were selling. How many other shares has Berkshire Hathaway sold that they haven't had to disclose yet? As you can tell by the CNBC announcer's view, she said, oh, it's just airlines that he's selling. Not a big deal, but we still don't have any sort of guidance into what's going to happen with the airlines going forward. Again, this is the beginning of April now, and Warren Buffett has started selling stocks.
He's at it again. That's right, folks. So I've already reported that last week that he sold off huge stakes in Delta Airlines and also Southwest. And the biggest fear in seeing the Oracle of Omaha dump a large stake in two positions that he used to love is Warren giving up on this market rally? Does he still feel that a crash is coming? He's just trying to exit as much of his holdings that he can. And the reason being is because Warren just unloaded $30 million of another stock. This time it's the Bank of New York, which he had over a 10% withholding in. And according to Business Insider, so we can see here that he sold off $30 million of BNY Mellon stock this week, over 860,000 shares. And since he had over a 10% stake in the company through his conglomerate Berkshire Hathaway, he had to file this with the SEC, which you can actually find online here. So you can see on April the 7th, he sold off 197,000 shares. It's just so weird saying 197,000 shares at $35 a share. Sold off another stake of 634,000 on April the 8th, and another smaller block of 37,000, all for about $35 per share, $35.50, give or take some change there. So that it's alarming, because if you actually look at the stock, we are at about $51 at the beginning of the year. It dropped down to 27. And then after this rally that we've had here recently, he sold it at 35. Looks like he could have got $2 more a share if he would have waited a few more days. But the big concern is, wait a second, if this bank was trading at a high of 51 earlier in the year, even about 45-ish, then why was he willing to exit so quickly? Was it just the fact that we had a market rally and it's a short-lived rally based on his gut, based on his research, based on his analysis or expertise, and he just wanted to get as much as he could right now? That is one of the concern, and actually this was reported by CCN, which.
So what did we learn from those three clips? First off, Warren said, hey, this is going to be a buying opportunity. I'm not selling. Second, Berkshire Hathaway sells major airlines. Third, they sell Bank of New York Mellon. What is he bracing for? He's bracing for a market downturn. Severely. He's selling already into a down market. Warren Buffett rarely ever sells. I do not remember the last time Warren Buffett has sold his stocks. He's usually extremely bullish and buys forever. When they purchase, they want to own stocks for the long haul. What I remember about Warren Buffett was back in 2009, in the middle of the financial crisis, we were doing tons and tons of foreclosure sales for companies like Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae and Bank of America and Chase, Wells Fargo. And what we noticed really quickly was that Bank of America was completely insolvent. They had purchased Countrywide and they put that deal together with the U.S. government, and Warren Buffett came to the rescue. In fact, in 2011, he bought $5 billion of warrants from Bank of America. Those warrants gave him the ability to exercise those at any point and get up to 700 million shares of Bank of America stock. He did exercise those, and made a ton of money off the deal. In fact, those shares were at last valued at $18.6 billion. So $5 billion to 18.6. He made a tidy $13.6 billion off of that transaction. Warren Buffett loves to buy at the bottom and sell off the top. So with this being said, it's going to be quite a ride from here, guys. I hope that you're ready for this, but it's not looking too good. When Warren Buffett starts selling things, you know we're in a lot of trouble. I hope that you like this video. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I look forward to bringing you some amazing content.